Welcome back to the Common Cultures Podcast. I'm your host, Simon Eisenbach, and today we have my friend Eric Fonger. I am super stoked to have him on. He is a electrician, lineman specifically, and a high school mountain bike coach, and he has a rad family that is deep in the mountain bike community here in Utah. And yeah, I give a little bit more of a explanation of who you are.
Well, so I grew up here in the Salt Lake Valley, and I was born in Murray, in Cottonwood Hospital. I've seen this valley change. Well, I'm almost 50 years old now.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody. I try to stay young as much as I can, but I've been fortunate to live a really cool life where I've been outside most of my life, in the mountains, doing fun things. I was able to survive childhood, was able to, meet a wonderful woman, get married. We started a family.
Tracy's rad, too.
Tracy is rad. She is amazing. And I was able also to get a great career. It wasn't a career that I had thought about getting into as a kid. Kids, you dream about, I'm going to be an astronaut, or I'm going to be a airline pilot, or whatever.
Yeah.
No, there's not a kid out there that's like, I'm going to be a high voltage lineman.
Yeah.
I'm going to build power lines,
Yeah.
And so it was interesting how I got into that, but I've been there nearly 30 years now.
Awesome.
And it has been an amazing career. It has definitely put food on the table.
Yeah.
And it has also allowed our family to do really cool, unique things, such as travel and do some of the things we love in life. It's really facilitated that. So, yeah,
nice.
and meet cool people along the way. So, yeah.
Now, as you've grown, you have seen the world differently, and how would you define your own personal definition, community?
Well, community to me is, I'm a pretty simple person, and community to me is all about people that are around me, and they're interacting with one another in a fairly harmonious way.
Yeah.
Right? It's just me existing in my day-to-day life and interacting with people.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to the supermarket, whether it's talking to the neighbor, going to work and meeting with customers,
Yeah.
It's just this environment that I live in. I always try to have a positive attitude about community. I know there's always negative issues and strife that can happen within communities, but
Totally.
There's a lot of positive things that go on too.
Yeah.
I think far more positive than negative. So yeah, I try to look at the good side of community, the good side of people, the good side of interacting with folks, and I don't know. It's a very simple thing to me.
Yeah. How would you define sustainability?
Well, the ability to keep it going and not have it collapse.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I don't know. I mean, to be able to do that, to keep your community growing and sustained and progressing, I guess.
Yeah.
You first of all, you need to have a progressive and a sustainable viewpoint as a member of that community.
Yeah.
That, hey, I'm going to do what I can to benefit the community.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to go help build trails. I'm going to go volunteer, down at the old folks' home. Whatever it is that you can do, that you can offer into the community as an individual.
So do you, in your view, a sustainable community looks like everyone contributing in some capacity to create a greater whole.
Right, exactly. And we're all different, we're all unique, and we all contribute in different ways.
Yeah.
And at different capacities and levels. And there's times when maybe you're not able to contribute the way people would like you to or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're still a member of the community, and you're still valuable.
Yeah.
You're a human being. and you're just in a season.
Yeah.
And so a community is very fluid in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good way to put
There's
it.
times you need to step up and do more, and there's times where you can do less. And you're just a part of the whole. And I think that if everybody is trying to do things like that, trying to better themselves, their families, their communities, I think the community is sustainable at that point.
Obviously, having lived in Utah for most of almost 50 years, how would you say what it was like when you were a kid is different from now?
It's very different. And I often wonder if the difference is because I was looking at it through little kid eyes at the time. You're looking through a different lens.
What was it like growing up in Utah?
You know what? It was, for me, as a kid, growing up in Utah in the late 70s through the 80s, the 90s, it was a fun place. It was a place, it was safe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never felt unsafe.
Yeah.
We could go out in the middle of the night and go skateboard around and whatever, you'd go do whatever you wanted to do. You just never felt unsafe. So it was a very safe environment. It was a very simple world at that point in my life. We had everything we needed, right? Growing up, all house, clothing, food. We were sustained and supported. But it was just a really good, fun time.
Yeah.
Plenty of parks, plenty of movie theaters, right? Just things to do as a kid.
Yeah. That's interesting because most people complain that Utah doesn't have enough to do.
I know. And, I have a skewed vision of that because I'm from Utah, right?
Yeah.
And we do travel the country.
Yeah.
Big time.
Now, did you grow up in the LDS church?
I did.
Okay.
I did. So we weren't super good about going to church.
Okay.
But obviously here in Utah, very strong Latter-day Saint presence.
Yes.
So most of my neighbors were LDS people, going to church on Sundays, and we were hit or miss,
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the ADHD or what, but the church was the longest 3 hours of my life. And
I felt the same.
Right. It's so hard for me to sit.
Yeah.
I'm just not a good sitter.
Yeah.
But
it's probably how you ended up being an electrician.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you definitely don't sit doing that. So, we grew up in that environment, and I did go to church, and I did occasionally go to, like, Boy Scout activities and youth activities with the ward.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was.
Yeah.
I can't say anything bad about it.
Yeah.
Good people. And
it was just a curiosity because it's a point of like everyone has a different background, and so whether doesn't matter what version of church you grew up in, if you grew up in a church or not, it does help influence your
it does
childhood.
It does, and it kind of it can instill, like, for example, I had morals instilled in me, values, drive, direction, focus, all those kind of things, right? Were instilled, a spiritual aspect to your life that you could lean on to get through life, which I still do today. You got to have something.
Yeah.
And so I really actually didn't get super involved in the church until I was older.
Got it.
And Tracy and I Tracy grew up. She grew up in Alaska. She was really good about going to church, and she was a member of the same church.
Got it.
She has a very black and white, just like, she's really just super cool like that. Good, bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, there's good like over there, there's bad over there. And I live in the world of gray.
Yeah.
That's just me. I live in the world of gray. But we somehow got together and started dating and stuff. And
how old were you guys when you started dating?
I was 22. It was a blind date, And
was it friends of yours that matched you guys up?
It was. It was
nice.
Her cousin happened to live in my neighborhood, and he's like, man, you know, my cousin Tracy, she's down from Alaska. She's going to college here. I think you guys would really hit it off, you know. And I'm like, sure, whatever. Let's do this, you know. And so we had a blind date, and it was cool. You know, sparks didn't fly, and the stars didn't align, but it was a fun night. And it was kind of funny how it ended up happening after that is her cousin that set us up, he started playing matchmaker. He called me up. He goes, oh, man, Tracy had such a fun time. She wants you to ask her out again. And then he'd call her and be like, oh, Eric had such a fun time.
Funny.
He totally wants to ask you out again, you know? And
anyway,
so it ended up happening again. And
that's so funny.
But it got really cool because all of our dating was just like going snowboarding, going mountain biking, going sick. Hiking. Like, it was a riot.
I didn't realize you guys
blast.
Snowboarded.
Yeah. So I started off skiing when I was a little kid. Then I went to snowboarding at age 12. Snowboarded pretty much my whole life up until like 5 years ago. I went back to skiing.
Got it.
But she does snowboard and ski as well.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, we got married. Like I said, in the Salt Lake Temple, which is a beautiful place. It was really cool. And 2 years later, Nate, my oldest, came along, and you know we've got 4 kids. Nate is the oldest, Dawson, Hayden, and then I have a daughter, Aspen.
Okay, I did not actually know the order.
Yeah,
the order of operations. Yeah. I knew all 4, but I didn't know which one was oldest.
Yeah, Nate's the oldest.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we've had a good life. Man.
Did you go to college, or did you go straight into the trades?
No, I tried to go to college. So I never, dude. School and this is goes back to the whole like I can't sit still thing and I can't focus. I never did well in school.
Yeah.
I hated school.
Yeah.
School was just a place to go to hang out with my friends.
That's fair.
And get in trouble, which happened a lot. And so anyway, I barely graduated from Murray High. And my dad goes, so what are you going to do now? You know, what are you going to do with your life?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you know, I really haven't even thought about that. He's like, well, you probably ought to think about it now.
I don't want to pay your bills forever.
And so anyway, I enlisted in Salt Lake Community College, this South Valley campus over here, whatever it is. And I lasted like 3 weeks. I was like, this is not for me. I can't do it. So I dropped out of college and stuff like that. And it was hard. So anyway, I ended up kind of getting more into the church at that time, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of hit a low point, right? I had no direction in my life, obviously.
Yeah.
I was not succeeding pretty much in anything that I was doing. And I was just like, what? I got to do something with my life. So I ended up kind of getting invited to go back to church, and I actually ended up going on a mission, a 2-year mission to Montana.
Okay.
And now a mission is not for everybody. Going out as a missionary is not for everybody. I saw a lot of people struggle over the 2 years in missionaries, and they would come back home.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it was like the best 2 years of my life. It forced me to learn how to learn things. It forced me to interact with people.
Yeah.
It forced me out of my shell. It forced me to live on my own.
Yeah.
And manage my own finances. You know, all this stuff, right? All this adulting stuff.
Yeah.
Do my own laundry, cook my own food, right? Go do my own shopping, all this stuff. And it was like just a huge reset in my life.
Yeah.
And I came home from that, and I was just like, yeah, I've got direction. I've got drive. You know, I've got independence. I've got this.
So how did you end up getting into the electrical field?
So I ended up getting a janitorial job with the power company, the local power company. And so I was around that environment.
Yeah.
It was just a job. It was just to make money.
Yeah.
And I actually had enrolled back in the community college at that point, and I was doing janitorial stuff. And I actually wanted to go into like federal investigation stuff, on the federal level.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, as I was in this environment around these linemen and all this big, heavy equipment, all this rad stuff going on, I was like, what is this, And
they weren't sitting still at a desk.
No, man. I mean, they had, dude, you have the coolest equipment. So it's just endless truck bays full of the raddest equipment.
Yeah.
Big, heavy stuff. And just the coolest jobs. And they were climbing poles and stringing wire and just doing all sorts of cool stuff. I was like, this is cool. Maybe I need to get into this, And I lucked out, and there was an apprenticeship that opened up, and I was able to interview for it, and they selected me, and I was able to start my apprenticeship with them. And if you don't know much about apprenticeships in a trade, particularly line work, it is literally like going into the military.
Yeah.
Okay, you are dedicating your life at that point to learning that trade.
Yeah.
And performing those missions.
Yeah.
And so it was, you went to work every day. You busted your butt out with the crews and learned hands-on in a progressive way. But then I would also drive all the way down to the next county twice, 2 nights a week, and do 4 hours of schooling at a trade center.
Yeah.
Where you learned the math, where you learned the transformer connections and the bank, all that stuff, right? And it was a 4-year-long apprenticeship, and at the end of each year, you had to take a step test.
Yeah.
Where you would go in, it was a day-long process. You would take a big written test to prove that you knew practical knowledge.
Yeah.
You would take a transformer connection test, where you could prove you had memorized the connections, you know, and then you'd go out and they had this big yard full of poles and lines and everything you could imagine. You did a practical test, where you climbed the pole and performed a certain task.
Yeah, and you had to show you could do it safely.
Absolutely, you had instructors sitting there with their clipboards watching you.
I mean, the amount of voltage going through lines, that's lethal.
Yeah, dude, there's really no room for error.
Yeah.
It is pretty serious stuff.
Yeah, I used to work in the asbestos world, and it's not that serious.
Yeah. Well, it is if you get it all in the lungs, but
Yeah, but as long as you wear a mask, it's not that serious.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did that for 4 years. You had to have at least 8,000 hours of hands-on work at the job.
Yeah.
And at the end of 4 years, with that 8,000 hours, you were allowed to take your journeyman test.
Okay.
And that was a big deal. That was a full day event where it was the project they gave you out in the yard was pretty technical.
Yeah.
Pretty involved.
Yeah.
And they were watching you through a microscope, just scrutinizing every move, and
now you were getting paid, and did you have to pay for all the classes and stuff too, or is that
the company paid for all that? Which was awesome. I mean, that's one of the cool things about line work, is if you can get in with one of these companies, they'll pay the schooling for you. They'll provide the opportunities for you to become a lineman. You just have to show up.
And show up and do the work.
Do the work, right, and be involved. And they pay really well. It's a high-paying job. Yeah. For a reason, obviously, right? Yeah. Very dangerous work on a good day, and typically, when disasters happen, it's not a good day anyway. It's usually 2 a.m. and it's microburst and raining sideways, and you've still got to go out and perform that work and not die. So,
there's a lot of risk.
There's a ton. In fact, it's such a risky job. It's interesting to be around people that don't have high-risk jobs, because I live in a state of constant. Like my cortisol level is through the roof all the time. Okay. Yeah. The stress is always high. Yeah. Right? Always high. But I've learned to live in that world. I've learned to function in that world and
Do you feel like that helps you mountain biking?
I think so. Well, I don't know if it helps me, but mountain biking is a way that I find release from that.
Well, because I feel like mountain biking is also a bit of like risk tolerances, and you're like managing. Am I in a situation that like oh shoot, am I about to be in like a lot of danger? Okay,
Yeah.
how do I adapt? And then like,
Right. That risk management,
Yeah.
for sure. Absolutely. You know, you've got to make those decisions, whether it's on the job or out on the trail. Yeah, you got to be able to look at a feature and go, no, I don't have the skills to do that right now.
right,
I'm gonna go around,
yeah.
or I'm gonna send this. I've got this. I've got it. I can do it.
And
It's scary, but I
sometimes-
can do it.
You go over the bars.
And yes, Whew, that was a dark day. Of all the things I could go worldwide, go viral, and famous for, of all the things,
Of
it's
all
that,
the things.
that was such a bad day. Oh
It
my
happens.
gosh,
We've all had
dude.
those days.
So if you guys are wondering what he's talking about, go to
I'm
my
gonna,
Instagram.
yeah,
You'll see it.
we'll pull it up.
That was a rough day,
Yeah,
man.
that was a spicy one.
Yeah, it was
Dude,
spicy.
I actually, did you see the reel I posted of the crash that I had skiing like a week and a half ago?
Yes.
That was the most viewed video I've had in like 5 months.
Right.
And it was literally like 90% engagement of accounts that I don't
Right.
follow me.
Right.
And I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
This is my utter failure.
It's what people love. Yeah,
Dude,
you know what
it's
I'm
so
saying?
funny.
Like, it's
Yeah.
what feeds the people out there.
Yeah.
Like, they love to see people
It's so funny.
crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty funny.
So how you grew up mountain biking? How did you get into coaching? Was this because of the kids?
Well, so yeah, kind of, yeah. So we were a big soccer family for a long time.
I do not see any of your kids playing soccer.
You know what? Looking back on it, it's hard to see it too, but we did. We lived our life on soccer fields until Nate was just going into high school.
Okay.
And he tried out for the team. We had just moved to Harriman, right? New area. And he was a really good soccer player. All kids were. And he had tried out for the high school team. He was sick that day, I think. He just wasn't feeling it, and he got cut.
Yeah.
And so he was devastated. And we were like, well, what now, man? Soccer, right?
Yeah.
Well, somebody told us about this new fangled club called NICA,
Yeah.
the High School Mountain Biking Organization. And we looked into it.
What does NICA stand for?
That's a great question. National Intercollegiate Cycling Association,
Okay.
I think, or something like that.
Or like interscholastic?
Interschool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Something like that. Don't
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
me on that, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've never
so-
heard what the acronym actually stood for.
Yeah, it's something like probably like what you said,
That
Interscholastic
makes sense.
Cycling
Okay.
Association. So it's national. It's a national program.
Yeah.
And
It's not really common on the Northeast.
no, it isn't. But I bet
'Cause I've
it'll
never
get
heard
there.
of it.
I bet it'll get there.
Eventually.
It
yeah.
will. It is such a fast-growing organization.
And I
for-
feel like
for good
people
reason.
want different activities now that
They
are
do.
not the
Yeah.
same normal.
Right. It's not just football and baseball and
Right.
basketball anymore.
Well,
there's
especially
other
the
stuff.
risks, like
Yeah.
injuries, like permanent injury risks that are being discussed around a lot of those sports
Right.
now. Like,
Right.
yeah, you can still get hurt biking, but you are also able to manage your own risk
Right.
on those situations.
Right. Yeah. So we looked into it. We looked into that organization. Harriman High had a team, and there wasn't very many riders. And we signed Nate up, and we found him a bike. It was a hunk of junk bike, and he started his biking adventure. And the first race we went to, we were like blown away. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Just the organization and the energy and just all this cool stuff, right? And the actual racing itself, cross country racing on these bikes. It was really cool. So Tracy got kind of sucked into it and started becoming a coach.
Got it.
She got trained up to be a coach. And for many years, she was heavily involved, particularly with the younger kids.
Yeah.
In training them up, to come into the they're called the junior devos, so they're the younger kids.
Okay.
To train them up to come into the high school level aspect of the sport. So anyway, that's kind of what drew us in, and from there it has just snowballed. We have started our own business. Tracy owns Discover MTB.
Okay.
And we own Aspire Racing. and this is outside of NICA.
Yeah.
But it also harmonizes with NICA.
Yeah.
Like, we don't detract from it at all.
Yeah.
This is a preseason program before NICA even starts up. We focus on getting kids on their bikes and just getting them having fun.
How many kids are in the programs right now?
This year we have like 70 to 75 cross country kids.
Dang.
And I've got 14 on my enduro team.
Wow. All right.
Which that's a whole cool thing. That's so I'm the head enduro coach because I gravitated less towards the cross country aspect, and I gravitated more towards the gravity.
Yeah.
A little more gnarly aspect. And
you mean you didn't want to wear a skin suit all the time?
You just don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
I always laugh at mountain bikers in skin suits. I'm like, that does not look like my type of thing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm not going to judge them.
I mean, out to each their own.
But gosh, I would rather be in a pair of baggies,
yes.
With some pads on and a full face and just sending it, And
yeah.
So anyway, we've got a really, really good group of kids this year, and it has just kind of snowballed. We support at races, we go to races, and through all that, my own kids have really found that they are good at this sport. Nate races at a pro level.
Yeah.
Dawson races at a pro level. Aspen races at a pro level.
Dawson's also doing stuff with like big mountain bike influencers too.
He is. Dawson has a very strong social media presence.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to put himself out there. He's not afraid to collaborate.
He's the opposite of you and Tracy.
Right.
On the putting yourself out there.
Right. He is.
You guys are all collaboration, I feel like.
Yeah.
I also feel like, especially in mountain biking, like, you can't be like, oh, it's me versus you all the time. Like, as soon as like the race is over, it feels like in the mountain bike community, it's a lot of community that's like, everyone is friends and you're hanging out together and enjoying time together. Like, when you're racing, like, it's competitive.
Yeah.
But once that's over, it's a whole different...
It's a family.
Yeah.
It's a family environment. That's one thing that I love about the mountain biking community here. Yeah. Especially.
I mean, that's how we know you guys.
It is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how I met you guys, It's just like, I remember pedaling up. It was at Bob's Basin, and Alex had just moved here or whatever.
Yeah.
We were at an enduro, and we're just pedaling up, on a transfer, and I just said hi to her, and we started chatting, and now look, we're sitting here, right, doing a podcast. It is the coolest. I don't know. It is the coolest thing. I love the tight-knit family feel that is the mountain biking community. You're right. During the races, yes, it's competitive. Yeah. You're focused. You want to win. You want to perform to your highest level. Yeah. But you know what? In a race, I wouldn't hesitate to stop my race and help somebody that was in front of me that had crashed. Yeah. Right? And you're right, as soon as you cross the finish line, it's like everybody's cheering for everybody. Yeah. And I love it. It's a cool environment. Super positive. So,
nice. What do you guys have coming up?
For races.
In general.
Oh, well, we have a lot. So this is our busy season, spring. Okay. We have Aspire racing going right now, super strong. So we do lots of, we do 2 practices a week with the kids. We're fat biking. This is kind of a cool time of year. You can fat bike, you can mountain bike.
I'm impressed at how much trail-wise is still dry in the Salt Lake Valley.
Yeah. Unless it's a really harsh winter, there are always places you can go ride on dirt. Yeah. There really is. Eagle Mountain in particular. Okay. That is a great area through the winter. I feel like
Antelope's dry too.
Antelope is typically dry. It is. That's a good place to ride. So yeah, we're just busy doing that, and then we have just a really huge race season coming up again. The kids are just finishing the Bootleg Gravity Series. Next weekend will be their last race, and then we are on to the Youth Enduro Series, the Big Mountain Enduro series,
Yep.
which these are, nationwide. We travel the nation.
Are you guys going to
attending these.
Arkansas again?
We're going to go back to Arkansas, and there is another one back east this year for the Big Mountain Enduro. Is it
West Virginia, snowshoe?
No, I don't think it's snowshoe. I want to say it's Tennessee.
Oh, interesting.
Don't quote me on that. I'd have to look at the schedule. But, we've got New Mexico, Colorado. You just kind of go all over the place with these races.
Nice.
I love it. It's a great way to spend the time.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What excites you about other aspects of life?
You know what? Right now, the thing that excites me the most is watching my kids grow up.
Yeah. I'm
just at that stage of life where I'm not changing diapers.
Yep.
We really, we're getting towards the end of having kids in school.
Yeah.
Aspen's in 10th grade. She's my youngest, so I'll have a couple more years of school.
And then you're going to be empty nesters.
And it's just really fulfilling right now to watch these kids grow and develop into their own people.
Yeah.
Their own person.
Yeah.
And gain skills and put themselves out there. And I'm just loving that. That's one reason we, tag along to all these races, is just the experience of being with the kids and just seeing what they can do, and cheering for them. And
yeah, because the boys are all old enough, they could technically just go.
They could. Yeah, they could. I love having them. Yeah, I'm one of those weird parents that, so when I grew up, it was all about, dude, as soon as you graduate from high school, you better be out of this house.
Yeah.
Right. You better be on your own. You better get an apartment.
How many siblings did you have?
I have a sister.
Okay.
I have a younger sister, 4 years younger than me.
Hey, same. I'm the younger of, but it's a 4-year difference.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. But I'm of the mentality right now, I just really love having the boys home.
Yeah.
It's fun. They're like my best friends in a way.
Yeah.
We just get along really well. I just enjoy being around them.
Nice.
And doing stuff with them. So I'm just not in a hurry to push them out.
That's fair.
We do charge them rent.
Hey, as you should.
You know what I'm saying?
As you should.
There has to be.
If they're grown, they should be contributing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's obviously a pittance compared to what they would be charged out in the real world, But
some of the rents we see, we were debating, depending on what happened with our rent, with a lease renewal, what we were doing, and we just started looking at rents, and some of them are just
they're ridiculous.
Right
it is
now.
Ridiculous, yeah.
And it's gonna be fascinating what happens, because in downtown Salt Lake alone next year there's 2,000 units coming up for rent.
Yeah.
And so it's just what's gonna happen when all of that is, or I should say, not much of that is low income housing.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these places are going to be massive, super expensive places, and it's that's not sustainable.
No, who can afford that?
Right.
Who can afford that?
Right. You're talking people are paying 30% of their income, 40% of their income just to have a house.
Yep.
And it's
yep.
What was it supposed to be, less than 25 or something?
Yeah.
The old adage is 25% of your income is supposed to be 20 or 25% is as most as you're supposed to pay for your housing.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's not sustainable, and it's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out, because it's totally unaffordable.
Yeah.
Right now it's ridiculous. So we're doing what we can to help the kids out, obviously.
Yeah.
But I do want them. We do want them to grow up too.
Yeah.
Right. And
gotta have
be
responsibility.
responsible. Yeah.
Yeah. Have any of the kids followed into your lineman?
No, they haven't. In a way, Nate got in with a power design company, and so he actually can work on it. He works from a computer, and that big apartment you're talking about, right? He designs all the interior electrical system for those.
Yeah. Cool.
So he actually knows more about electricity than I feel like I do.
You just know how to
sometimes.
safely put it places.
Yeah, I can transport it. But he's really good at designing all that complex, those complex systems and stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
those big buildings.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Nice.
So he's the only one that's kind of, taken after me as far as the electrical goes, and I'm okay with that. That's fine. They all have their own little niches that they do,
Totally.
and I try to be supportive of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks for chatting.
Dude, this was fun.
I'm glad you had fun. I know you were worried.
Yeah. Well, I'm not an interesting person. I don't feel like I'm an interesting
You're more
person.
interesting than you think you are.
I,
Everyone thinks they're normal, but they've got little things.
Yeah.
And I having always been trades adjacent. So my dad's a civil engineer,
Okay.
and he was, or probably still technically is, like the main asbestos related expert witness for the State Education Department of New York State.
Really?
And so I grew up on construction sites and the whole 9 yards, and I worked for him as a construction manager for a while right after college.
Cool.
So like, I actually find that stuff interesting because there's a lot more to it than people think.
Yeah.
And we still, even though college has been dumbly expensive and like not worth it to a lot of people these days,
Yeah.
don't talk about the positivities of the trades.
Yeah.
And I feel like we would be better as a community globally, or at least even as a country, if we shifted the conversations around education to be not everyone is meant for college.
Right.
How do we best help someone succeed? Like you found that college wasn't a good thing for you,
Yeah.
and you found something that was a successful thing for you. But I'm also going to probably assume that in the 80s, it was very much you go to college
Yes.
to get a degree,
Yeah.
to be able to have a successful life.
Exactly.
There was no, you can go do something else and have a successful life.
Yep. The pathway was graduate from high school,
Graduate
go to
from
college.
Yeah. Go to college, graduate
Right.
from college.
Then you'll get a good job.
Right.
You'll have the career you want.
Exactly.
Or whatever,
And I feel like
Yeah.
we need to change that conversation because even me, I paid for college doing asbestos removal.
Mm-hmm.
And as a college kid, I was making 33 to 75 an hour.
okay.
Where else are you going to
Right.
get that kind of money?
Right.
Like, you can't, as a college age kid, make that money legally a lot of places.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's just one of those that, like, I feel like trades need to have more conversation about how organic and well you're able to do into the future.
Yeah. That it's a viable thing.
Yeah,
That
that's a good way to put it.
It really is. So we do a lot where I've done this for years, we go to schools
Yeah,
and we take our big trucks, and we set them up and we talk to the kids about what we do.
yeah,
And that you could do this too if you wanted,
yeah,
And there's just so much out there. I don't want to talk bad about college, but there's so much out there besides the regular route through college.
totally.
That just doesn't work for a lot of people.
Yeah, the film industry is the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if you go to film school, you want to work in a specific thing, and it's mostly to meet people, not what you're actually going to learn.
Really?
You learn 90% of what you do on set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
no, that going into the trades, it's awesome. It's good money. It's stable work for the most part. Depends on what trade you're in, but
I mean, but if you're in the core, electrical, plumbing,
it's stable.
etc., you're gonna have something. It's not necessarily gonna be exactly what you want, but you're gonna have work.
Oh, absolutely. And you're gonna
Yeah.
make good money, and you're gonna be able to provide for your family, big time. So
Which is important.
yeah, it is.
Sweet. When are we going biking?
Whenever you want. We're going tonight. Come fat biking with us tonight. The Moonlight Ride with Jibe Cycles, dude.
We got her birthday party.
Oh, bring the stuff up.
I don't have that much cake.
Well, I
right.
don't know.
I'd like to once again thank Eric for coming on the podcast and discussing the trades a bit. I think they are one of the more under-discussed, fantastic opportunities for kids out of high school, where, especially if you didn't like sitting in a classroom or you just don't want to spend a lot of money continuing to go to school, you can make a lot of money in the trades, and you can put food on the table and have a good livelihood using one of the trades, whether you go into electrical like Eric, or you go into plumbing, welding, or metalwork, or even carpentry. There are plenty of opportunities for all of the trades. It's something I think needs to be discussed more. And if you are curious about mountain biking things, check out Eric's company, Aspire Mountain Bike and Discover Mountain Bike. They are awesome people, great coaches, all around great people. If you are here for the giveaway of the Shimoda Action X50, the second word you need to put in is bread. So the 2-word combo is banana bread. And you know what to do with that if you are looking to enter right around when this episode launched. It'll be open for about 2 weeks after the episode has first launched. If you're listening to this at a later date, be sure you're subscribed, because I'm hoping to be able to do some more giveaways to help grow this community and just kind of expand the opportunities for people to be involved and engage with it. My next episode is going to be a fantastic one. Her name is Amanda Valenti. She is an acupuncturist here in Salt Lake City with a fantastic story, and you are going to love some of her insights into life, community, and just how life goes as you grow older and building community and different types of communities. That's all I got for this one. Have a great week. See you guys next time.